So now we have our HDR map saved to the directory that we're going to use. What we can do is just open up our animation folder, or our animation walk animation that we used or made. Actually, I'm going to create a reference of it. So I'm going to go to sphere biped walk and just reference that and wait for this file to open up. All right, so now that we have this opened, want to make sure that we're at, since it was animated at 30 frames a second, we want to make sure that that's actually set the proper length. So we started at 0. So there we go. We have our walk. Okay, we can just find kind of an angle. So what I'll do is go show none, show polygons, and then what we'll want to do is create a plane. So this is basically going to be our floor, and then if you hit R, and then just go to the middle, and just make sure that you scale that out pretty good. So I'm going to scale it to, let's say, 250. And then also do a modify freeze transformation and delete by type history. And then that way we have that plane. And then what we need to do is go to Arnold, Lights, Skydome Light. And with the Skydome Light, we just select that. And then if you go Control A, you'll get this attribute editor to come up. And so with the color, what we're going to use is that HDRI map that we actually downloaded. So we'll go and select this little checkerboard icon right here, and then this will come up, our render node. And so we'll select the file, and then we want to go to image name, and then we select the folder. And then what we can do is go to wherever your, so I put mine DHDR maps, and I'll select that one and say open. And you can see that that's the image that it's going to use. And from here, we should be able to, I should be able to hit 7. And that will give us a kind of a preview of the lighting and how that's going to look. So with this, I like to actually turn, I don't want to see this in the render in the camera, so I'm actually going to just turn that to 0 in visibility. Everything else will be fine. We want the transmission, diffuse, all that other stuff to be where that default is at. But when we go to Arnold, open Arnold render view, and if you select that and then just do a little play, hit this little red button, this will turn on the scene, and so we'll see kind of what that render looks like with that HDR, the HDR map. So any adjustments that we do here, we can actually, it's an interactive preview, which is pretty cool. So if we wanted to light this in any way, we could still do so. And to do that, if we just stop this Arnold render view, and then I'm actually just going to minimize this right here, just so it's down here in this window. And then what I want to actually do is go to Create Lights, Directional Light. And so with this directional light, it's now, I want to turn on my lights. So there's the light. So we can see them. Okay, so this direction light, I'm actually going to put kind of at an angle, like so, and then more a little down like that. So let's just kind of brighten this up just a little bit. So now if we go back to the Arnold render view, if we hit the play button, now we can see that we have a little bit of light, and now we have a shadow. And so we can see that shadow. If we don't want the shadow to show up, we can turn it off. But I do like to have that in there so we can see kind of what's going on. If you want to make any adjustments, one cool thing in Maya, there's a little light editor here. So with this still, with our Arnold render view still running, we can actually go to this light editor and just bring this over. Okay, and then so now we can see that this is basically just a white light, and we can check our intensity and everything right here in this window. It's a really nice a really nice feature that we're able to see kind of how we want this to really look. So it's actually really nice. We can overexpose the shot, or bring it down to underexpose. If you leave it at 0, usually not too bad. Sometimes I'll do like 0.25 just to kind of bump it up just a tad. And then if you want to try a colored light, say you want to try blue or this darker blue, or even like a lighter, a hotter color, or even a lighter one like a yellow, just to kind of bring out a little bit more of the yellow tones, or however you're kind of thinking, just to get kind of a nice little lit scene. This is going to be a really kind of a simple lighting setup, but I'm just going to do basically a quick little 3-point light setup. So this is going to be basically my key light. Okay, so it's going to be coming from left to right, and that's kind of how I have that set. And then so all I'm going to do is just duplicate that directional light, and then from here I'm going to rotate more like coming from here. So you can see, so these arrows right here, you can see how these arrows, and I'm kind of shooting it kind of straight, well, a little bit more like, so the key light's coming this way, the fill light is coming this way, and with that fill light, I don't want it to be as hot. So if we bring this back and kind of look here, so this just kind of fills the shot with a little bit more light. So from here, we can actually bump the intensity of the fill light to, let's say, down to 1. And then I'll usually like to choose the opposite color of whatever that is. And you can saturate it if you'd like. So that's going to be my fill light's going to be blue. And then what I like to do is add kind of a rim light. And so with the rim light, we'll just basically dupe this. So now this is, and you can rename these. So let's say key, and this will be fill, and this will be rim. And so with the rim light, we want this one coming behind us. So I'm just looking to see. So here I'm going to say show no polygons, and just look at the way the lights are facing. So with him, he's walking that way. So I'm going to put this rim light almost going this way, like so. And for this rim light, so what I can do here, actually I don't want so much to affect in the Arnold render view. Actually, I'm going to close down the Arnold render view for a second, and then just bring back my polygons, and then kind of set this shot a little bit better. Okay, and then we can go open up our Arnold render view, hit play, and it should come up like that. So I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so with this rim light, I want this to be a lot hotter than it is. And I also want this to be a different color, so almost like almost a white, and just like really intensify this light. So we can kind of see, I think probably like 7.5 or so. And then what you can do, I'll probably overexpose this to like 0.5, just to kind of overdo the light just a little bit. And then from here, what you can do is select that rim light and then go to your rotate tool, okay? And then just make sure that your Arnold render view is still in there. And then you can shape that rim light just a little bit more, okay? You just want a little touch on the rim light. And you can see it just kind of hits that nice, it just kind of shows that shape a little bit more, okay? So with that, this is just this is a really simple lighting setup, but you can see the lighting looks okay. It looks half decent. You can see everything looks good. So from here, what we'll do is just hit stop on the Arnold render view. I'm okay with this, and it'll work for what I'm trying to do. And from here, next step is going to be rendering our frames out and how we set that up with the render setup, and we'll move on from there next. All right, thank you.